If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Weirding Way Media.
Night, Mr. Walters.
You see that guy over there? No, he's an actor. The guy on the phone? He's a prize fighter. Me? I'm a cab driver. I'm the only cab driver in this place.
Good evening and welcome to Night, Mr. Walters, Taxi Podcast. I'm HP, your co-host, and with me as always is my co-host, Father Malone. Father Malone, how are you this evening?
I'm not Father Malone tonight. I'm the King Ad Whammy and your big butt kiss.
That might be my favorite intro that you've done so far. That's perfect for this episode, and we'll talk about that. Tonight, we're discussing Season 2, Episode 10, The Apartment. This was written by Barry Rabinowitz and directed by the resident director, James Burrows. So, reminder, we're doing these shows in broadcast order and not in order of filming. We open in the garage as Simpleton Tony runs in and he gushes to the other cabbies that he actually had Neil Armstrong as a fare in his cab. Can you believe it, Father Malone? Could this possibly be true?
No, it's monumental. It's got to be true.
It's got to be true, as we'll find out.
Yeah.
Not so much. His story unravels quickly as he goes on to say that they ask, "Where'd you go with Neil Armstrong?" The other cabbies say, "Where'd you go?" And he says, "Oh, I went to the unemployment office." And this raises red flags. Everybody has a look of concern on their face because they realize that, once again, Tony the idiot is getting had. He goes on to say that Armstrong paid him with something better than money, and to which he pulls out a rock that he claims to be a piece of the moon. And then Bobby tries to politely expose the truth to Tony, but for some reason, Alex rudely shushes him like a parent whose child is telling a tall tale and somebody's trying to correct them. And it's like, no. Let the kid have his moment, which just confirms that all of the cabbies believe that Tony's just an idiot. Does it not?
Certainly does. This episode so far, putting it in Sesame Street terms, is brought to you by the color yellow. For some reason, there's a preponderance of yellow going on wardrobe-wise here. Tony's in his baseball tee, which is yellow trim, and Nardo has decided she's going to be the mascot for a fast food chain. She just hasn't decided which one, but she's good for any of them because every fast food chain has the combination of red and yellow, and she's got both going here.
So at that point, Louis hustles down that famous central staircase. He's coming down from the boss's office. And he's complaining he's gotten chewed out by Mr. Mackenzie because evidently someone has spent the night in the garage, in Mackenzie's office specifically. So Louis goes over and he tries to pump the cabbies for info, during which, in a kind of a funny moment, Latka strolls by on his way to the bathroom, and he's resplendent in a bathrobe. He's got a towel. He has a little cup with his razor, his toothbrush, the whole works.
You feel like a caddy. It's like he's on vacation. and at a hotel, just going from the suite into the restroom.
Yeah, it's no big thing. Latka just seems very comfortable and he's on his way to get ready in the morning. And Louis then goes over to the bathroom and angrily pulls Latka out. And he demands an explanation. And he goes on to say that the cleaning lady found, quote, a strange man asleep on the sofa. And Latka, with a half smile, answers creepily, how did she know I was strange? This might be my favorite line, bar none, of the whole episode, Father Malone. It's a moment where Latka falls away and Andy Kaufman is revealed. It's so much an Andy Kaufman moment that I just love watching it. Don't you agree?
I totally agree with you. I have a competing best line of the episode that comes later, though.
Okay. Latka insists to Louis that he lives in the garage now, but Louis goes ahead and reads him the riot act. He insists that he can't live in the garage. He can work here. Louis says he can work here. He can die here, but he can't live here. And the rest of the cabbies, of course, come to Latka's defense. And Latka finally explains to the cabbies, because they ask him, what happened to your apartment? What went on? And Latka explains that they tore the building down. They ask, why did they tear the building down? And in my second favorite line of the episode, he says, because it would not burn. This was a time, actually, this was probably post a time when a lot of the landlords, the slumlords in New York, would burn down the buildings for the insurance money. I think this is a reference to
No,
that.
this is still prime burning down everything time
Yeah.
here in New York City. Absolutely. They're making a comment on the current state of affairs.
And it's good. I once again, beyond the fact that Taxi is a well-written and funny show, it's great. This is yet another example of a little time capsule moment in the history of New York. This is a good example of that. So we fade back into the garage sometime later. Alex comes in. He's bringing his bookings to Louis, and Tony asks how the Latka apartment hunt is going. No dice, Alex says. There's really nothing much in Latka's price range, which is not surprising because I'm sure real estate now is terrible and it was probably just as bad back then, especially
I bet he
for
could find something. I bet he could find something cheap, actually. 1980.
You think like a flop house, something really seedy?
Yeah, seedy, maybe not so seedy. Like he could probably find something. The real question is why he didn't just take the back seat of a car out and put it in that tool room that nobody goes into but him anyway, and just live there. Like what? Why was he going upstairs to the boss's place? That's weird.
Well, the reason is because the boss has the most well-appointed and comfortable room in the garage, probably. He's got a couch.
He's got so much, he's saving so much money on rent now. He could just buy himself a couch and put it in there and cover it with a tarp.
If the situation was indeed that dire, then I agree with you. He should have just hauled a seat into that tool room that nobody ever goes to your point, and just grab some shut-eye there. The only thing he couldn't do is wash up and do all of that, but he could do that before the cabbies came in. I bet you could.
Well, the thing is, the thing that they're not taking into consideration, I guess, is, well, I mean, the boss would be gone during the night, but it is a 24-hour operation.
Right. Well, yeah.
So
I
maybe
guess,
maybe that office is the only place he could go to sleep.
yeah, but
Because
there must.
other mechanics have got to be able to access that tool room. But they don't. It'd be like a hospital. They'd just be like, "Hey, Latka, sorry, man, I just got to get this tool."
Well, what's interesting is you raise an interesting point, because if it is 24 hours round the clock, then, I mean, Louis not there all the time. So who's the dispatcher when Louis not there? We never find out, do we?
No.
Could be anybody. Could be Ben
So-
Goretzky.
Ben Koretsky is dead.
He's the best union rep they had in that garage. Sorry, go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, I don't know. Go ahead.
All right. So Louis reiterates to Alex that they better find him a place. And why? Because he's already thrown his stuff out in the street. Now, here's my first side note of this episode, Father Malone. When did throwing someone's stuff out the window or into the street become a thing? Because I've seen this in a bunch of movies and TV shows around this time, but I can't honestly say I've met someone who's ever had their stuff thrown out a window into the street. Have you?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Oh, I know plenty of people that have had scenarios like this happen. They come home to find all of their stuff thrown out. I'm not one of them.
Okay, that's good. But is it usually like they're married, or maybe their boyfriend or girlfriend gets fed up and in a fit of
Yes,
passion throws it out the window?
absolutely. Or just
Hmm.
piles it on the lawn or in a driveway. Yeah, like it's not maybe as dramatic as the. I mean, it's more like what you see here. Louis just hauled his stuff to the curb. The dramatic throwing stuff out the window is a concoction of a screenwriter somewhere. I'm sure it happened in some silent movie, and then that was so hilarious that some kid grew up and wrote it into his movie, and on and on and on. I don't know how much that happens. It takes a very dramatic sort of person to treat their significant other to a big theatrical show of tossing their shit out of a second story window.
Yeah, because isn't we talked about DC Cab previously. Wasn't there a scene where Max Gale's wife in that movie throws his stuff out the window in frustration because she wants to kick him out?
Oh yeah.
That was
And then
around
she
this time.
Yeah, but see, that at least was a comment on that trope because she follows it up with a flamethrower.
That's true.
The real question at this point in the episode to me is why have none of the cabbies offered to take in Latka? Tony Banta is frequently on the road as a boxer. Bobby is always out and about and trying to hustle work and rehearsing and stuff. He's got that sweet downstairs apartment. Laka could live in the one of the closets we haven't seen. I bet there's a closet we haven't seen in that thing.
You would think at least Alex would offer. I mean, Elaine, she's got enough going on with her kids, but I
They're
would be
kids.
surprised.
She's excused, but she would offer.
Yeah, she would offer, and I could see Alex saying, "Look, you can stay on my couch for let's till you get on your feet. Let's give you a couple of weeks or whatever." But then I think the clue that we're looking for was in that line that I loved so much, which is that maybe Latka does have a strange, bizarre side that for all of the cabbies patting him on the head as almost like a pet that they really like and adore. Maybe there's some part of the cabbies that realizes that Latka is kind of a creepy guy. That might be why they haven't jumped to his aid here. That's my guess.
Could be.
Could be. At that point, Latka walks in. He's kind of awkwardly carrying his stuff back into the garage, and he's outraged that someone would do this. But on the bright side, Latka is happy to report that he found an apartment. But just to be on the safe side, Elaine suggests that Alex go with them to check it out and make sure that Latka is not getting taken advantage of, which is good advice. Once again, Elaine, she's rejected the Ayn Rand focus of her life, and now she's back to caring about everybody again.
No, because if she really was caring, she would have invited Latka to stay at her place. I'm doubling down now, or I'm backtracking onto your theory that Latka is so weird and they all kind of secretly know it. I don't think that's true. Latka is a sweet man who is a bit of a weirdo, but he poses no danger to anyone.
He poses no danger, but this episode raises the notion that he might be a little more perverse than he has let on in the previous season and a quarter. It's enough. It's food for thought. I'll leave it there.
He's just a lecherous, that's all.
Perhaps. We cut to Latka opening the door to a darkened apartment with Alex, and he
We
turns
got
the
some
lights
B-roll
on.
there, baby. We got some B-roll. We
Well,
got some
it's
B-roll of a fancy building.
we do, and the I didn't note it here, but what's interesting is later we have another B-roll of what I ostensibly should be the same apartment, but it's clearly two different B-rolls at two different times.
Wildly different building.
Yeah. So I noted that, but I didn't really call out this because the B-roll in this portion is very dark. It's hard to make out what it actually is, but you're right. It is a zoom in on presumably his apartment. Latka turns the lights on, and bam, another awesome set is revealed. It's the swankiest 80s luxury apartment that anyone could imagine. It's got wall-to-wall carpeting. It has chairs that look simultaneously cool and uncomfortable. The couch and the coffee table even have LED lighting on the underside, Father Malone. There's more to come on this. But what did you think of this apartment set?
I like those sofas. I like the lighting. I like the control panel. That
Well,
reminds.
we're getting to that. We're getting to that.
Okay.
But
Just in general, I did not like it, but it felt very much like a set.
it did, but what I liked about it is it captured that the artificiality of those kinds of high-end luxury apartments from the late 70s, early 80s, where, like I said, everything was carpeted and chrome and not necessarily comfortable. It wasn't built for comfort, it was built for status. And that's what I like. That's what I think they captured well in this. I'm not suggesting that it was the most realistic environment, but it did the job well. And it was big and spacious and all sorts of little doodads, as we'll get into here.
I think James Burrows didn't do himself any favors because the blinds that are covering the window are mirrored, which means until those get opened, he's limited the way he can shoot the scene. But but you would never notice it. I mean, I only noticed it in the sort of second viewing of it.
Yeah, I didn't really take note of that because, as I said, I've seen this episode, spoiler alert, I've seen this episode a lot, and I'm always swept away, like I said, by the grandiosity of this apartment. And Alex, of course, once he sees all of this, he's taken completely aback by this penthouse apartment. And it turns out that Latka misunderstood how much the rent was. He tells Alex that it's $3,000 a month, which turns out that's all he has in his savings. So basically, Latka only has enough to stay in this beautiful apartment for 1 month. But here's the thing, look, even in 2000 currency, $3,000 is a lot of money. But according to my favorite website, amortization.org, in 2024 money, Father Malone, how much do you think that is? $3,000 in 1980?
$11,584.
You are so close. You're getting better at this. It's $11,997.89. So it's basically $12,000 a month to stay in this apartment in today's currency. So that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Now the live-in maid makes sense.
Yeah. So Latka generously offers to have Alex come over anytime. He can even stay with them if he wants. And at that point, the maid that you just referenced emerges from some kind of antechamber to ask if Latka needs anything. And this being an 80s sitcom, even though it's one of the best, of course, Latka asks for Nick, which in Latka parlance means he wants to have sex with the maid. And she, of course, begs off. This will come back several times in the episode, but just put a pin in that. Again, leaning into the perversity of Latka, I think, a little bit much in this episode.
Are we not going to talk about Nancy Steen, the maid?
Please do. Tell me about Nancy Steen.
Writer of 6 episodes of The Love Boat, Nancy Steen.
That's fantastic. She's the maid.
Yeah. Writer of on Night Court for 2 seasons, Nancy Steen.
Oh.
Caroline in the City, Webster. Webster, my friend.
That's enough to put her in the pantheon right there.
She's a producer on Webster, 49 episodes. HP, she wrote an episode of Brocktoon.
Mr. Belvedere?
That's right. Yeah, not only did she write on all of those shows, but she was the story editor on Police Squad for the entirety of that series, the Sucker television series. And not only that, but as an actress, she had very small roles, but she was in The Incredible Hulk. Remember the show Bizarre? John Byner's show Bizarre. She was. That was a late night Channel 56 show. She was on Mork and Mindy. She was on Happy Days. But more importantly, she's in Kentucky Fried Movie, Zinc Oxide and You. She's the housewife in the industrial film where her kitchen falls apart because all the zinc oxide disappears.
Yeah, everything starts falling apart and like the faucets exploding and all that stuff. Oh, wow. Good job. I can't believe I guess I didn't dig deep enough. That's fantastic.
So, yeah, shout out to Nancy Steen. She's good here. And what a career beside this brief appearance on Taxi as the Nick maid.
She makes an impact. She's very, very good in this. Alex tries to explain to Latka that he's in over his head. He's going to wipe his whole savings out on 1 month living in this apartment. And Alex goes over to the phone to call the hotel manager to get Latka out of this mess. While he's waiting to be connected, he keeps getting transferred to other people, and he's waiting. While this is all transpiring, Latka's wandering around the apartment saying goodbye to all of these fancy amenities. And then Latka starts flipping switches on, you made reference to this. It's this fancy control panel that looks like the one on the front of Darth Vader's costume. It's just a bunch of random switches and lights and toggles and things.
It reminded me of Richard Vickers' setup in There's Something Beside You Ever segment of Creepshow. The Leslie Nielsen, he's got his house all tricked out. He would feel right at home in this apartment, I think.
Yeah, that's a good call. Latka flips a switch, and this state-of-the-art, for the time, stereo system emerges from behind this false painting, and it starts playing lounge music. And then he hits another button, and the blinds that you just talked about being mirrored automatically open, revealing what's unfortunately a very fake-looking New York skyline.
Oh, the cyclorama from hell. It's so terrible, man.
It's really, really bad. That's the worst part of this, unquestionably. And then the final button press causes this fully stocked bar to roll out from behind another hidden panel. Like the panel opens and this thing juts out. And that, for some reason, that in particular delights the studio audience most of all. Like people are losing their minds over this bar that comes out of the wall. That's what causes Alex to stop in his tracks. He can't believe all this stuff that's popping out of walls and things. Finally, he gets connected to the manager and he does a 180 and says, "We'll take the apartment." And we fade to black. And we fade back in to the apartment. Alex is lounging on, I guess it's a couch. It's like a lounging couch kind of thing.
Like a fainting couch.
That's the term that I was looking for. He's wearing a Hawaiian shirt and he's sipping a cocktail. He looks very comfortable with himself. And Latka is behind him. He has his headphones plugged into the wall and he's singing along. It's Staying Alive, but he's singing it in his native language and kind of bopping around the room and as he does it. And the maid, who I don't think ever gets a real name in this other than
Maid.
Well, someone in a minute will call her Inga, but I think that's just a joke that he throws out. But the maid comes out again and checks to see if Latka needs anything. And besides another request for Nick, he's all set. He doesn't need anything. She comes over to Alex. And Alex, I have to say, he's insufferable here because he says to her that his swizzle stick is a little limp and hands his drink over back to her to fill up. I think the good life is really going to Alex's head in this.
Oh, you think that
apartment.
drink is 3/4 full and he's like, top this off for me. I don't want to. And what is he doing, by the way? He's being an insufferable asshole, but like, what is he doing? He's just laying on that couch drinking all day, like letting the maid refill his drink over and over again. He doesn't seem like watching television or reading a book or listening to music. Just sitting on a couch drinking.
No. He's reading Better Homes and Gardens while he's drinking his drink. You didn't see that?
I guess not.
Yeah, he's got it. You can read the front of it. Like he's got it open and folded back so you can read the front of it. Yeah,
in other words, he's basically staring off into space.
Pretty much. But he's not the only cabbie that's taking advantage of Latka's goodwill here. So the doorbell rings and then the maid goes over and she, I guess part of her duties is she announces whoever's at the door. Do we have that anymore? Do domestics perform that function anymore?
I don't know any domestics, nor do I know anyone who would be wealthy enough to employ one. But if I did, I would let you know because I'm curious as hell.
Yeah. So she announces that Tony's at the door and he takes a seat at one of those uncomfortable looking chairs that I talked about earlier. One benefit of these chairs, however, is these chairs don't allow him to sit in one of his weird positions. He can't sit reversed because it won't work. The arms are too big. So he sits down and the maid asks him if he needs anything. And after some back and forth, he asks for a couple of brews and some peanuts. And he sits and he's enjoying the sweet life with Alex there too. There's another doorbell ring and a hand kind of comes out from behind the door and
I
hands
love
her
this.
a note card. And the maid proceeds to introduce Bobby using this note card. It's like when they would introduce Muhammad Ali in the ring, and they'd say the master of disaster, or no, sorry, Apollo Creed, the master of disaster, the Sultan of SWAT, the Ayatollah of rock and rolla, whatever. Um, she reads this whole thing. A man who needs no introduction, the best actor ever to grace the stage in New York. It's Bobby Wheeler, and then he bops his way in. Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind. And a nice touch is he snatches the note card back from her as if he's going to use it again. But it is a funny little bit that he's using the maid to sort of feed his ego. I thought that was pretty funny.
I loved it. It's like he's practicing for talk show appearances.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He bops his way in and he asks Latka if he can bring a date over. Then Tony, of course, now we just had an episode where they're romantic rivals, and I think there's still a little bit of that going on. Tony objects. He says he's got a date coming over also.
No,
And he
no, that's not what happens. Bobby says to Latka, "Can I bring a girl here tonight?" And Latka says yes. And then Tony protests by saying, "I was thinking of bringing a girl here later." Who cares what you were thinking of doing? It's done. Quit crying about every fucking little thing that goes on in your life, Tony. Jesus Christ. We're not mind readers. We don't have microscopes on us. Aha, making fun of them.
You're right. I guess I glossed over that a little bit.
I was thinking of maybe asking my girl here, maybe if everything works out. Like, you can't just book the fucking room. No, I did.
I just did, Tony. But he's intimating that he says something to the effect of, and we want to end up in the same room that you will. There's a wink, wink, kind of like it. You're meant. It's implying that they both want to end up in the bedroom.
The whole fucking setup is meant for fucking. It's like, go in that room. We'll be out here. Like, I'm sure there are rooms we don't even get to see here.
Oh, there are. We're going to get to that in a minute. This apartment extends behind where that stereo is and where Alex is being very gauche and reading Better Homes and Gardens. There's a whole set of rooms back there. But regardless,
Take the bedroom, Tony. I'll be out on the fucking balcony with the skyline of New York spread out in front of me.
they finally decide that they want to settle it by flipping a coin, which Tony wins. And then he crows about he's getting the game room. And then Bobby plays it off like, oh, well, I guess if you're in the game room, I guess I'll go in the master bedroom with my girl. So, once again, playing Tony's idiocy against himself and winning. But then, as I talked about, Elaine strolls in from another room behind where Alex is sitting. Apparently, it's the jacuzzi. This place has a jacuzzi as well. She's in a robe and she's got her hair in a wrapped up in a towel. And it's clear that the whole group of cabbies is just taking advantage of poor Latka at this point.
Although, yeah, they are, but Latka doesn't seem to mind.
Again, I think they're leaning into the perversity of, there's something off about Latka. And
Everyone is being really venal here.
I guess so.
Poor Latka, like, we find out this is 4 days before the end of the month. So presumably they've been doing this for a full fucking month now. Surely they know that their friend Latka in 4 days is going to be back to living in the garage. No one is taking any steps to help him here. This episode is I found it to be a bit tragic. Clearly, the amenities at this place are fucking fantastic. Elaine's kids are taking swimming lessons and learning French from the fucking elevator operator, and everyone's having a great time. And I would want to do that if I had a friend who lived there. I had a friend who had an office on the Warner Brothers lot who had access to the commissary where you could just eat for free. Not only that, you could just walk up and it wasn't like a buffet or anything. You just say, I don't know, could I have some mac and cheese? And they'd be like, yeah, sure. And they like, go make it. So yeah, I understand the will to mooch, but everybody, Latka, poor Latka.
But in your case, though, this friend of yours who had an office, it wasn't as if he got the office through some means that was over his head. Let's say he was hired to write for a movie and he was underqualified to do it, and you knew that this was eventually going to end badly for him. If that was the case, I would assume if he was your friend that you would say to him, "Hey man, let's figure this out." Like you wouldn't just go, "Well, fuck it. If you've got this commissary, I don't give a shit about you and your problems and you losing your job in a week. I want to fucking eat some mac and cheese."
Hey,
right?
good luck with the third act. I'll be at the commissary.
That's right. So there's another ring of the doorbell, and the maid announces at this point that it's Louis De Palma. And Alex and Bobby tell her not to let him in, but he enters. He comes through this ancillary door. He go and doesn't end around her and comes in. And he's suspiciously wearing a trench coat buttoned up all the way. Once again, Chekhov's trench coat is in play. We will see that momentarily.
And here it felt like he was on his way to a Dick Tracy convention and went, "Oh, I think Latka's apartment's here." And
see, I thought he was on his way to the Port Authority to flash some poor unsuspecting women, because he's got this rumpled fedora on his head and he just looks odd. He doesn't look like somebody, like a secret agent. He looks like somebody wearing a trench coat and nothing else under it, kind of.
Yeah, I don't think it would be as nefarious as him flashing some poor unsuspecting person, but he could definitely be frequenting one of the theaters in 42nd Street.
That's right. Maybe he's catching Debbie Does Dallas, the 3:00 showing, and he's stopping over to see Latka. I don't know. Louis orders suds from the maid, and Bobby says that they should just send him away because he's going to rain on their good time. But good-natured Latka insists, despite the fact that Louis just threw all of his stuff a month prior on the street, Latka is so good-hearted that he says, "Nope, Louis will stay." Besides, Alex says, what negative thing could Louis possibly say about the best apartment in New York City? And Louis, who's now sitting at the auto bar that's come out of the wall, says, yeah, he agrees. This is a great apartment. But then he lowers the boom and he says, you're going to feel like killing yourselves when you got to leave in 4 days. And to this, Elaine kind of reaches up and hits one of those buttons on the Darth Vader control panel, and the bar with Louis sitting at it rolls back into the wall with him still on it, and it closes up. And after they realize that the booze is, like, they're prepared to nail up the wall and leave him in there, but Bobby says, nah, booze is in there. So they open it back up and Louis slides back out. He's still drinking his beer at the time. And he says, all right, I can take a hint. I'll leave. But on his way out, he says, by the way, you're out of scotch. And he pulls 2 whole bottles out of Chekhov's trench coat. That's clearly the only reason that he was wearing the trench coat, is so that he could hide 2 bottles of scotch in it. I thought that was very lazy.
But this exchange contains my favorite line in the episode, which is, you glossed over.
Tell me.
You don't have to get mechanical.
It is a good line.
I can forgive the lame. He just came to steal some booze in his thing, but that line is so good. You don't have to get mechanical. The set, by the way, I'm just going to harp on it again here. The set is terrible. It feels like there's a bunch of stagehands behind there just sliding that thing in and out. None of it feels organic or actually mechanical.
But it all feels artificial, but to me, that was part of the charm of it. All of the stuff in there looks like you could have read about it in a Sharper Image catalog from 1978 or something. It looks so artificial and overly expensive and extravagant. I liked it. I didn't mind that.
You know what? At the same time, Michael Mann was filming those exact things you're talking about, but he made it look beautiful and real.
Your mileage may vary. I didn't find it that off-putting, but I can see your point at the same time. I can see your point. Louis leaves, and the cabbies are feeling down now. They're talking about missing this place. Alex doesn't want to hear any of it. He says they still have 4 whole days, as you said, to enjoy it.
Yeah, 4 whole days to figure out something for Latka. You know what? We have 4 whole days. We all love this place so much. I have an idea. Let's all chip in some money, and we'll keep hold of this place. It'll be our place away from our houses and the cab, and we'll have all these amenities to do. Let's do that. No. Let's not do that. Let's just suck it dry for the last 4 fucking days. as hard as we can. My swizzle stick is limp.
Let's continue to live off of Latka's largesse, and we'll deal with it in 4 days hence. But even Alex has to admit that he's going to miss the place. And Elaine agrees. As you said, she talks about the fact that the kids are at the pool taking swimming lessons. They've got tennis lessons in the afternoon, and the elevator operator is teaching them French. She's really bummed about this whole thing. Bobby has the bright idea of holding a rent party where you basically, I mean, I've never heard of this before or after this. I can only assume this is an invention of the writers, but basically you hold a singles party and you charge like $5 or $10 a head. And in an idea straight out of an 80s sex comedy, Elaine suggests that they loop in passengers looking for a good time, which I think sounds nefarious just on the face of it. Like they're going to inveigle people from out of town who want a good time to come to this swanky pad. Seems off
They're all
to
going
me.
to think they're just taking them to a whorehouse. That's what every one of these potential customers are going to think.
We fade back into the apartment. Now it's in the evening.
By the way,
full.
I do know about rent parties. They didn't invent the idea of a rent party, but they certainly, I think, concocted this absolute bullshit sitcom nonsense of we're going to turn it into a singles party, like a speed dating service at Latka's apartment to save the apartment. The hell's going on here all of a sudden?
It seemed a little far-fetched. But so then we fade back into the apartment. It's nighttime now. And it's now full of dudes with mustaches and coiffed hair. They look like they just stepped out of a Just for Men commercial. The camera kind of pans around and you can see, and they're talking. I think Tony and Bobby are commiserating. They couldn't find any women to join the party. So it's just a bunch of dudes walking around awkwardly as the music's playing. And then one guy in particular starts to give Alex the business about how the party stinks. And he threatens to demand his money back if no women show up soon. And who is that disgruntled party goer?
It's Blue Thunder's own Dick Butkus.
Absolutely. Pro Football Hall of Famer. Following his retirement from the NFL, he became a real familiar face on TV. He was in the famous Miller Lite Tastes Great, Less Filling commercials.
Mr. Butkus and I have a problem. I do not appreciate American football.
And I don't appreciate rugby.
However, there is one thing we both appreciate. Light beer from Miller. Light contains a third less calories than their regular beer. It's also less filling.
But our favorite thing is the way it tastes.
Quite right, Dickie boy. I'll never like your football, but I do love your light beer.
Mike, I'll never like rugby, but I do love those cute little shorts.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
As well as appearing in scores of TV shows. As you said, he was in Blue Thunder. He was in Matt Houston, Growing Pains. He was even in the movie Johnny Dangerously alongside other Taxi alums like Danny DeVito and Mary Lou Henner. So there you go. It's like a reunion.
Nodding.
Yeah. So anyway, Dick Butkus is stirring up enough hubbub that the rest of the partygoers start to unite behind his cause. And Alex is left to counter. Alex is left to try and defuse the situation. He starts to give them this drivel that they don't need women to have fun. They, when they were kids, they didn't need women to. He's like, let's hang out like guys. And then his monologue falls completely on deaf ears. And Dick Butkus and the rest of the guys want their money back. And it's starting to look like it could get a little violent. And just then Elaine walks in with some party supplies, like a grocery bag full of stuff. And then all of the guys immediately shut up, all of the other men in the room, and they start smiling at her. It's a very creepy tableau. I found it creepy.
Genuinely frightening. And Elaine registers it. You can see the fear on her face.
Yeah.
What has she wandered into here?
But to make things worse, Bobby goes over to her and says that she's the only one who can get them out of this. And can she mingle a little bit? And like you said, she sells this. She says to herself, whoa, what's wrong with mingling a little bit? That can't hurt. So she starts to mix in with the crowd. And she suggests that they put on some music. And Tony puts on the most generic funk music you've ever heard. It's just source music completely, like off of a library album, probably. And she asks if anyone wants to dance. And of course, like a pack of wolves, everyone starts to descend on her. And it gets a little scary, I have to say. Quick thinking Bobby hoists her up on the coffee table, which is also, I feel bad for Elaine because now it's like she's like a go-go dancer dancing for these men.
Like a go-go dancer? Oh my God, it's so gross. And she's wearing one of these kerchief things, like as a top,
Yeah,
which
like a
is,
shawl.
yeah, it's gross anyway, but at least it's something. But like once she peels that off, it becomes a full-on burlesque. Like,
That wouldn't be the word. Burlesque implies that there's some art to it and there's some taste involved. But what happens is Alex, again, Alex is not the Alex that we know and love. He says that they're going to watch her dance to all the other guys. And she starts to awkwardly do this two-step on the table, as you said, with this shawl around her shoulders. And that doesn't satisfy the crowd at all. So then Alex does this weird thing where he catches her eye and rolls his shoulders forward, basically giving her the signal like, hey, let's show a little bit of skin, like make it a little
yeah,
more sexy, right?
amp it up here, baby. This crowd is going to tear me apart.
Yeah, and so she steps up her dancing a little bit, but it still isn't enough to satisfy these men. They start to advance on Alex again, and in desperation, Alex calls to her, and then she says something like, "Look over here!" And like you said, she whips off this shawl, and she starts giving these guys a real show. I mean, she is like dancing like it's like like strip club dancing basically. She's bouncing up and down, not twerking, but I guess kind of
Bump
the
and grind, HP. She's
yeah.
bumping and grinding in the old tradition.
She is, and she's really going. I mean, she's a great dancer anyway, Mary Lou Henner, so she's going for it. And then the men, of course, can't help themselves, and for a nervous moment, it looks like she's going to be swallowed up by this throng of men advancing on her. But in a kind of a nicely coordinated bit of comedy, she makes this desperate dive off the table, and Tony and Bobby catch her in mid dive and run her out of the apartment. And
She's
at that point,
Superman's on out of there. It's great.
yeah, and they just roll out with her, holding her up. And at this point, there's nothing more to be done. Alex is forced to give everyone refunds, and the party is effectively over at that point. We fade back in to the same apartment as everyone is sulking about losing the apartment. Now, here's another side note. Tony found a way to sit weirdly in one of those chairs. Did you notice what he's doing? It's not those uncomfortable large couch chairs, but they're chairs that have they almost look like seashells in the back, kind of sweeping into the seat. He has taken that chair and laid it 90 degrees on the floor. So effectively the back of the chair is now the seat and the seat is now the back. So he's knocked this chair over and he's sitting on what amounts to the back of the chair. I don't know how he did it, but he managed to figure out a way.
That Tony.
Yeah, he's resourceful, that Tony. Latka says that Louis was right. They're all losers. But Alex doesn't want to hear that. Alex says that, and Alex comes back down to earth a little bit here. Alex says that no one with a friend like Latka can be called a loser. And they all thank Latka for letting them use the apartment. And Elaine resolves to find a new apartment with Latka starting tomorrow. Latka's still looking a little sad, and Elaine asks him about it. And he has this little speech where Latka says for him to live in this apartment, it was like a miracle. And someday when he has no food and he's depressed, he's going to think about this month and become even more depressed. It's like you think that he's going to say like, and I'll feel better because I had this wonderful apartment, but no, it's just going to make him feel worse that he had this apartment and he lost it. Alex then suggests to everybody else that they leave and let Latka spend the final night alone in his apartment. After they leave, in a final button to the scene, the maid comes out and sees Latka saying goodbye to all these amenities. She takes pity on Latka finally and finally agrees to do Nick. And a very appreciative Latka then takes her into the bedroom, and that's
Weird
it.
ending. It's a weird ending.
Very weird ending.
Episode.
It's a very weird episode. So that is the apartment. Now, as is our custom, we're going to talk about yellow lights.
What does a yellow light mean?
Just a reminder, we're scoring this from 1 to 5 yellow lights. 1 is the worst Taxi episode. 5 is the best Taxi episode. And also our custom, Father Malone, I'm going to throw it to you. How many yellow lights do you give the apartment?
Oof. The third act is so bad. I'm gonna give it 2 yellow lights.
Yeah? 2?
Not a big fan. Wasn't a big fan of this one.
I can't argue with that. I will say that I gave it 3 yellow lights, which I realize, look, I can see all of those points. And as we're talking about the episode, I'm realizing again how absurd it all is and how out of character a lot of this is and everything else. And it's unquestionably, it's a very silly premise. But for me, it's always great to see the cast all together in the A plot. And that's what we get here. This is almost like a single location. It really is a single location for pretty much the whole episode. They, with the exception of the garage piece at the beginning, we never leave the apartment. And there's not much Louis, and there's absolutely no Reverend Jim, which is really kind of a shame. But despite all of the negatives, I can't fully explain why this is one of my most rewatched episodes. For me, I don't know, there's something comforting about watching this and how silly it is and how goofy it is. And I like the little touches with Latka, and we see beyond, under the persona of the cute sort of Latka. I don't know. I like it. But I also recognize that it's not one of the strongest stories, and it's not one of the strongest, episodes overall. But I do rewatch it, so that's why I'm giving it 3 yellow lights. So 2 yellow lights from Father Malone, 3 yellow lights from myself. That will do it for this episode of Night, Mr. Walters. Father Malone, where can the folks find you when you're not clocked into the garage?
You can find me over at Weirding Way Media Group, same place you can find this fine show. You can hear my show Midnight Viewing. Over there, it is a bi-weekly show. We have new episodes every Monday and Friday. I'm involved with other stuff, but that's keeping me busy, man.
You are hugely busy, and you also have a Patreon, do you not?
Oh, yeah. Father Malone. So patreon.com/Father Malone if you wanted to throw in a buck or subscribe to the shows. You get all the shows early, and they're all commercial free, and you get special Patreon bonus episodes. You can find me all there. Go do all that.
Check it out. Father Malone is one of the busiest podcasters that I know. I'm not just saying this because he's my best friend, but he works extremely hard. He provides a ton of content, and his Patreon deserves a look. So please check it out. As for myself, I'm also happy to be part of the Weirding Way Media Network. In addition to this fine podcast, you can also hear me occasionally on the Culture Cast with Chris Dashew. And you can also hear me over on the Dark Destinations podcast, which is another of Father Malone's fine creative efforts. If you like great storytelling, radio drama, please check it out. Otherwise, I have a Bandcamp site, hpmusicplace.bandcamp.com. You can check that out. But once again, thank you for listening. This will do it for this episode. Please feel free to subscribe to this podcast, write a review, or rate us. We'd love to hear from you. So for myself and for Father Malone, thanks again, and we will see you guys next time.
Night, Mr. Walters.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.